Some mistakes echo for a moment. Others echo for a lifetime. Sarah Langston was successful, powerful, on top of the world. But a single night, one small yes, changed her forever. She thought her biggest mistake was getting into the car. But the real nightmare hadn't even begun. This isn't just a story about guilt. It's about the secrets that hide behind silence. The people we become when we lose everything. And the fight to take our lives back, one painful truth at a time. Sarah Langston had always lived by the rules. Raised in a conservative military household in suburban Virginia, discipline was in her blood. Early to rise, perfect grades, top of her class in college. At 32, she was a senior consultant at a leading firm in Washington, D.C. To colleagues, she was unstoppable. To neighbors, she was graceful. To her mother, she was the golden child. But success had come at a cost. Her love life, non-existent. Her weekends, filled with deadlines. Her smile, polished but rarely real. Deep down, Sarah felt like a machine built to win. Until the night she let herself loosen up. That night was supposed to be a celebration. It was late September. Autumn in D.C. brought crisp air and golden leaves, but that evening was unusually warm. Sarah's team had just secured a multi-million-dollar deal, and they gathered at a rooftop bar to toast their win. There was music, laughter, shots. Alex Monroe, her charming colleague, equal parts sarcastic and kind, offered her a ride home. He had 2 beers and a whiskey sour. Sarah had a glass of wine. "Come on," he grinned. "You trust me, right?" She paused. There was something in his voice, confidence mixed with something softer. Maybe she was flattered. Maybe she didn't want to Uber alone. So she said yes. Minutes later, they were driving down a narrow road by Rock Creek Park. Trees loomed. The headlights barely lit the curves ahead. Sarah told Alex to slow down. He smiled. "We're fine." They weren't. A deer darted. Alex swerved. And then impact. The world went black. Hospital lights buzzed. A dull pain throbbed through Sarah's chest. Her leg was in a cast. Her left wrist swollen and purple. A mild concussion. But it wasn't her injuries that made her tremble. It was the look on Clara Monroe's face when she walked into the room. Clara was Alex's mother. Stoic. Pale. Holding on to the hope that her son would wake up the same man. "He's alive," she whispered. But Alex had suffered a severe brain injury. He was in a medically induced coma. Doctors didn't know when or if he'd come back. Sarah tried to explain. She wasn't driving. She had begged him to slow down. But none of it mattered. The damage was done. Sarah returned home to find her condo filled with flowers and whispers. Her company asked her to take a leave. The press spun the story into a lesson on workplace culture and alcohol. Sarah stopped going out. She stopped answering calls. She stopped believing she was a good person. At night, she replayed the crash. Sometimes Alex was driving. Sometimes it was her. Sometimes she didn't survive. She tried therapy, but the words felt rehearsed. She tried church, but the pews felt cold. The only thing that felt real was guilt. 3 months later, a text from Clara arrived. "He's awake. But he's not the same." Sarah visited the rehab center. She stood in the hallway, heart racing, hands clammy. Then she walked in. Alex sat by the window. He had lost weight. His once sharp jawline had softened. His eyes were distant, vacant, childlike. He didn't recognize her. She whispered his name. He smiled faintly. "Are you the nurse?" Clara burst into quiet tears behind her. Sarah nodded. "Yeah, just checking in." And that was the moment her heart finally broke. Sarah tried to rebuild. She volunteered at a local trauma support group. She started writing in a journal. scene heading westbound approximate 2 minutes after the collision. That car had never been identified. She tracked down the officer who wrote the report, retired now. He didn't remember much, but he mentioned a local mechanic who towed the car from the scene. So Sarah drove out to the mechanic's garage, an old rust-stained place outside the city. The man, gruff, mid-60s, eyed her suspiciously at first. But when she explained who she was, he softened. "I remember that night," he said. "There was another driver. A guy in a hoodie. Parked for a few minutes, then peeled off." "Did he say anything?" Sarah asked. The mechanic hesitated. He looked at the wreck like he expected it. Then he just said, "Not like this." Got in and left. Sarah confronted Clara. Why didn't anyone investigate the second car? Clara's eyes darted. There was no second car. You were confused. The police cleared it. But someone was watching. Someone was there. Clara pursed her lips. Her hands trembled as she poured tea. "You're digging up things that won't help Alex heal. Or are you just trying to protect someone?" That question hung in the air like smoke. Clara said nothing. But her silence said everything. Sarah drove to her old office and met up with Ethan, a quiet IT analyst who had always respected her. He owed her a favor. She asked him to pull Alex's emails from the months leading up to the crash. Buried in archived folders was a series of messages. Subject, drug trial anomalies. To internal compliance. From Alex Monroe. Date, 2 weeks before the crash. The emails exposed data manipulation at a pharmaceutical company Alex had worked with during a consulting project. He had started asking questions. The company had connections, deep ones. Legal, political, dangerous. Sarah's stomach dropped. This wasn't just a tragic accident. This was a cover-up. And now, someone wanted to make sure it stayed buried. Sarah's next move was bold. She reached out to Alex's estranged younger brother, Daniel Monroe. He had disappeared after the crash. No hospital visits. No public statements. But her gut told her he was the missing piece. Through Clara's landline records, she found a number that had called repeatedly over the last 3 years. It led her to a remote address in rural Maryland, an old cabin partially overgrown by ivy and brush. She drove there alone. Daniel opened the door with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I wondered when you'd show up," he said. "You were the second car." He didn't deny it. "I tried to stop him," Daniel admitted. "I knew Alex was getting close to something dangerous. I followed him that night to confront him, to scare him off, but I was too late." "You left us there to die," Sarah said through clenched teeth. "I didn't know how bad it was. I panicked." Sarah pulled out her phone and pressed record. "You're going to tell the truth now, or I swear I'll burn it all down." Daniel chuckled bitterly. "You think exposing me will help Alex?" "No," she replied. "But it might save someone else." Back in the city, Sarah handed the recordings over to an investigative journalist she trusted, someone outside corporate control. The story blew up. Consultant's crash linked to corporate sabotage cover-up. Pharma whistleblower's injury now a criminal investigation. The justice system moved slowly, but it moved. The pharmaceutical company came under federal investigation. Daniel Monroe was arrested for obstruction and reckless endangerment. But it was Clara's confession that broke Sarah's heart. "I knew," Clara whispered during their final conversation. "I begged Daniel not to go that night. I told him to let it go." "Why didn't you tell me?" Clara wiped her eyes. "Because I didn't want to lose both sons. And I knew I already had." Sarah could have disappeared again. Instead, she stood beside Alex. She held make you think you'll never recover from. Hear this. You are not your worst moment. You are still allowed to grow. You are allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to heal. The past can shape you, but it doesn't own you. Speak your truth. Face your fear. Turn your burden into your strength. And when you feel alone, remember, you survived. Now it's time to live. Have you ever carried guilt that changed the course of your life? Do you believe redemption is possible, even when others say it's not? Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about healing. Let's talk about truth. This was The Hidden Burden. Thank you for watching.